Hello everybody, I'm back for another video review, and this time I'm going to review a movie that, this is going to be an interesting one to talk about, and this is Piranha II: The Spawning. This is actually the sequel to the 1978 film Piranha, which by the way was one of the earliest films by director Joe Dante. I've actually mentioned this in a couple of my previous videos. So you're probably wondering, why am I doing Piranha 2 instead of talking about the original movie? Well, the focus on this one is the fact that Piranha 2: The Spawning is actually, well, before I get into that focus, let's talk about the movie real quick. Piranha 2: The Spawning was a film that came out back in 1981, released over in Italy in 81, but released here in the US in 1982. And, well, this is an interesting movie to talk about. So basically, I'm just going to read the back of the case here. So while investigating the mysterious death of a diver, scuba instructor Ann Kimbrough makes a horrific discovery. Mutated piranhas with wings that enable them to fly are responsible for the death. So as the body count rises, Ann desperately tries to convince the manager of the resort to call off the annual fish fry on the beach, but he's determined to give his guests the ultimate feeding frenzy. Yeah, there's a bunch of other subplots in the film, like Ann's son Chris gets on a boat with, going out, and of course her estranged husband, played in the film by Lance Henriksen, in actually one of his earlier film roles. And of course there's another guy that shows up that turns out to be a sort of like a spy working for or like an agent working for a government facility that supposedly is responsible for the piranhas mutating. Well, yeah, I mean, I also noticed that, the movie does have many similarities with Jaws, obviously, because, somebody trying to warn the, in Jaws, the Sheriff Brody was trying to warn the mayor that there's a shark attacking and the mayor doesn't want to listen. Well, yeah, the same thing kind of happens here in Piranha 2. But, yeah, all that said, of course, I mean, obviously not many people are familiar with this movie, but one of the things that did become familiar with this film is the fact that this movie actually is the directorial debut of James Cameron. Now, for anybody that's been watching my videos, you probably noticed the pattern I've been going on, because my 3 previous videos, I did Rock and Roll High School, Battle Beyond the Stars, and Escape from New York. I've actually mentioned something all 3 films have in common, is that James Cameron worked on all those films. And this here is the directorial debut of James Cameron. Well, it is, and it's not. Well, the thing is, James Cameron was involved with Piranha 2, but not as much as you think he was. The film's producer, a man by the name of Ovidio G. Assanitis, I'm not sure if I pronounced that name right, because this is an Italian film production. And James Cameron was one of the very few crew members on the film that actually had any involvement whatsoever with the movie. I mean, he was one of the very few Americans that was involved with the film in any way. So naturally, he got involved as a production assistant, cameraman, and the producer wanted a first-time director to basically helm the movie, and James Cameron did shoot the movie for about 4 up to 5 days, and ultimately, when the 5th day came, he was ultimately replaced because his shooting, the stuff he shot for the movie, ultimately conflicted with the screenplay the producer had. So, in other words, yeah, Cameron's footage that he shot didn't agree with the script that the producer had. And Cameron basically he was not really happy with the script either, because the producer basically wanted to shoot more nude scenes in the film, and Cameron obviously didn't agree to that. So in the end, Cameron ultimately decided he also was editing on the film too, and he was really upset with the way the film was turning out, so he basically, for weeks, he would break into the editing room and he would re-edit the film the way he originally wants it to. But the producer eventually found out about this, barred him from the editing room, and ultimately re-edited the footage more to what the producer wanted. And unfortunately, the only home video version of Piranha 2 that is currently available is the producer's version and not Cameron's version. So unfortunately, yes. Even to this date, although Cameron was able to make a director's cut version to his liking, but unfortunately, it's only available in like foreign markets, so it never actually got an official home video release here in the States. So unfortunately, the only version of the film that's available to us right now is this one, pretty much. As you can imagine, Piranha 2: The Spawning was ultimately met with mostly negative reviews by critics. I don't know how big of a hit it was at the box office, if it even was a box office. I don't know how much of a success it was, if it even was a success. I mean, the movie was made for a very slim budget, and I believe the budget was somewhere around 500 grand, definitely under $1 million, because the movie was, somewhere definitely definitely under $1 million. It's not a Roger Corman film, not like the original Piranha was, unfortunately. Like I said, this is an Italian film version. Over time, the film fell into obscurity, but though it slowly but surely became a cult favorite over time. But once James Cameron started to become a big-name director with his later films, suddenly this movie became popular again, all because James Cameron was involved. And, of course, Lance Henriksen in one of his earliest film roles. And anybody that is a fan of 1988's Blob remake will recognize Ricky G. Paul. He was in the Blob remake. He was the one guy that was killed in the car with his girlfriend Vicky. Other than that, though, I don't recognize any other big name actor from the movie, and that's about it. So yeah, like I said, there's not really much to talk about on this one. Piranha 2: The Spawning has been on home video a couple of times. There was a DVD release by Sony, which was not exactly the greatest release of the film. It was only in full frame. Yeah. That's the only DVD that was currently available of it. And then suddenly Shout Factory out of nowhere decided to give this film the Blu-ray treatment. And honestly, you figured Shout Factory would also add the director's cut that James Cameron made, but unfortunately the only version we get is the theatrical version from 1982. It's just the 94-minute cut that the producer wanted. Oh, I should say executive producer. But nonetheless, though, he pretty much took over the movie itself. But as I said, he wanted a first-time director, so he could just one up him and take over as director. So, yeah. So, Piranha 2: The Spawning actually got a fairly solid Blu-ray release here by Shout Factory. Inside here is there's the covers. There's the reverse cover sleeve, as Shout Factory is famous for. And the Blu-ray artwork inside is pretty impressive. It pretty much matches the artwork that Shout Factory has done. So take the disc out, and there's the reversible sleeve here for Piranha 2. That's the artwork that Shout Factory created, and on the front here is this is the actual theatrical poster art for the movie. As you can see, it kind of resembles Jaws. The girl in the water, and you got the monsters beneath. The piranha kind of look like the xenomorph from Alien a little bit. It's probably where Cameron got the idea for Aliens, even though the first Alien was already out by then. As you notice, the Blu-ray cover art here for Piranha kind of resembles Jaws a little bit. Sort of. Definitely resembles Jaws. So anyway, the video quality on the disc, honestly, it is nice to see Piranha 2 in widescreen anamorphic for the first time. And honestly, it looks pretty good. I mean, Shout Factory did a good job with this. It's a new 2K scan of the original camera negative, so it's a 2K restoration. And honestly, it looks pretty good. Definitely better than the full-frame DVD, that's for sure. Yeah, it's murky in a few spots, but you got to give the film credit for being a low-budget film and for being an 80s movie. So in 1982, this movie would be 40 years old now. Yeah. And overall, out of 5 stars, probably give the video maybe 4.5. Probably 4.5, because it honestly looks pretty good. I'm impressed with how well it looks. Still grainy in a few spots, but for the most part, it looks fantastic for a movie of this quality. As for the audio, well, the audio is actually not bad either. It's in Well, it's basically the mono track from the DVD, but up converted into DTS master audio, and honestly, it sounds pretty good. Dialogue comes out very well. The sound effects come out very well. And it has, yeah, like I said, it sounds really beefy for a mono track. So out of 5 stars, definitely give it a 4. As for the bonus features, well, there's not really much to see here. There's just a couple of featurettes on the movie and a theatrical trailer. Both of the featurettes are basically interviews with a couple of the people that worked on the film. Ricky Paul Golden, who, although it's funny how Ricky G. Paul, his name is credited here. Maybe they swapped his name around? I guess. Maybe they did that for, safety. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, there's an interview with him as he looks back on the movie, and he apparently has pretty fond memories working with James Cameron, surprisingly. And the other is with the effects artist, Brian Wade, who worked on the movie. Because the effects artist of the film the main effects artist was Italian. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but still, he looks back on working on Piranha 2, and also included as the film's trailer, so yeah, the extras are kind of slim here. Yeah, but for a movie like this, this is actually, you'd be lucky to get a small batch of material like this. So 5 stars, I would probably give it maybe a 2, because that's all there is. The featurettes in total run at about maybe half an hour in length, but still, it really would have been nice if Shout Factory was able to get a hold of James Cameron's preferred cut of the movie and put it on here as well. Shout Factory has done that with many of their titles. Lots of their titles include like alternate cuts of the film and stuff, many of them. And I don't know why they couldn't get the ones for Piranha 2. Maybe in the years, I don't know. Figure for this year, 40th anniversary, you figured they'd actually do that, but nope, they didn't. So, although James Cameron has for the longest time, he has confirmed over years that he did not direct Piranha 2, but in the later years, though, he has finally come out and admitted that, yes, he did direct Piranha. This is his movie. But he doesn't consider this film his first movie as director. Technically, he considers The Terminator his first movie, which is interesting because that makes me think of an interesting fact that I want to make up before I close the video out. During the filming of Piranha 2, James Cameron... well, first of all, he did not speak much Italian, or no Italian at all, and he was working over there, and he had no money, by the way, for any services, like food or anything. He didn't have any money because he spent it all on the plane ticket that he used to get over to Italy to shoot the movie. So he basically was grabbing, like, scraps and half-eaten buns to, to fill up, and he became malnourished real quickly, and he became sick from it. So one night, while sleeping and recovering, he ended up having a nightmare about a robot sent from the future trying to kill him, which is what gave him the idea for the Terminator. So if it weren't for Piranha 2 and him getting that nightmare, I don't know if the Terminator ever would have happened. So I would say it's all thanks to this movie. If it weren't for Piranha 2, we wouldn't have the Terminator. Interesting little fact there for you. So, in conclusion, Piranha 2, I would say out of 5 stars, the movie itself, I'd probably give it maybe 2.5 out of 5. Although, yeah, it's not exactly the best of movies out there, and of course, compared to the 1978 film, the 1978 movie is obviously, it's considered a masterpiece compared to the sequel, which again, neither of these films have anything in common except for the piranha being the killer animals, or fish, but other than that, there's like no continuity, there's like no returning characters from the previous film, none of the crew members from the first Piranha were involved with the sequel. This is like an entirely different movie compared to the first movie, so yeah, I call it a very unique sequel, and of course in this movie the piranha actually fly. They're mutated, so they actually are grown wings and they can actually fly. They couldn't do that in the original film, so this movie, yeah, it's weird. But, yeah, the movie, like I said, out of 5 stars, give it a 2.5. I give it the benefit of the doubt, being James Cameron's first, technically his first film as director. So, and Shout Factory's Blu-ray is actually a pretty solid release. The video is fantastic. The audio is really good. The extras are slim, but what's there though is pretty decent. I mean, I seriously doubt James Cameron's going to come back to do a commentary on this movie. I seriously doubt he will. Because basically, the one thing he said about this movie is it gets better the more beer you drink. Basically, it's better if you had a six-pack, and he said it's the best flying killer fish piranha movie he's ever seen. So basically, he kind of makes it the butt of a joke, but believe me, his filmography does get better over time. So, that concludes this presentation. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to my channel for future videos, which will be there and more to come. And obviously, you can bet, since I am pretty much in a James Cameron mood now, doing a Cameron-a-thon for the release of the upcoming Avatar: Way of Water, I'm going to try to blow through all his movies. So obviously, the next one for me is going to be The Terminator. So, alrighty. Until then, take care and be safe.